and welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's good to see you all. Hi from Southern California. We're glad you're here, and you can join us and tell us where you're coming to us from. I'm coming to you from Knoxville, Tennessee, and this is Friday, so we made it to the end of the week, and I'm so glad you're all here and that you joined me at this a little bit altered time. New Hampshire, Gallatin, Augusta. Yes. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Pennsylvania. Awesome. Okay, so we have two big subjects we're going to cover today, and one is about elementary students that are maybe the students that you're not working with. If you're working with another student, what to do with your elementary students who are working independently. Hi in North Carolina. I used to live in North Carolina. Welcome. Okay, so if you have an elementary student who is working independently, hi Canada, hi Arkansas, and then in the second half of this, I want to talk about high school and grading and some specifics on that. I had some really good questions. Thank you for the detailed questions; those were helpful. Okay, so on elementary independence. So this is going to vary. Everybody has different choices that you've made for which curriculum options. Even within Sonlight, some people are doing some parts of the language arts and some people are not. People make different choices about that kind of thing. So I'm just going to go through and just share some of the things that if I had about a third grader, fourth grader somewhere in there, what they were doing if I was working with older siblings during that time. So one of the big things and I usually made a stack of work for an elementary student to do. So and it was all things that I knew that they could do without having any questions, or if they had questions, we had a plan for that. So okay, so this is handwriting. We used a reason for handwriting. There's handwriting without tears too, so this whichever applies to you. This is our what I would do with them in the morning. I would try to cover in every subject. This is for about a third grader here, the level C. It's colorful, but this is just the inside, the black and white part. In the guide, there's the teacher's kind of instructions, and it has a verse for the day. Make the most of every opportunity you have for doing good, Ephesians 5:16. So every day when you're doing a reason for handwriting, you have a verse that you're working on, and the reason for handwriting is that they're writing that verse to give to someone. So they're practicing all during the week, and then on the last day of the week they're going to write this and they're going to give it to someone. So that's how that program works. So but you can alter this for what you're doing with your students and your program. So basically it has a tip of the week. Out of this paragraph that it gives, I just kind of underline what I really want to cover with my child, and here I would just say good handwriting helps others read what you have to say. So just explaining that to them. That's in lesson 1. And then there's a little thing that you go over about your grading procedure and encourage the student to set personal goals within these 5 areas, these little evaluation areas for your student. So you just kind of go over anything like that you need to tell them. And then there's a little discussion. What are some opportunities for doing good you might find? Try to make the most of all the opportunities this week, so it gives you some little ideas here about picking up trash, helping parents, helping a younger sibling. Anyway, that's just the little part that we would do together. So I would do that in the morning with them, or prior to the time that I'm going to be working independently with my older guys. So, and I'm going to say guys because I have four boys at my house. So I did not say, did I say I'm Christie? I'm on the mentor team. If I didn't, I'm Christie and I'm on the mentor team, and I'm glad that you're here today. I just jumped right into business and was excited about where you all are from. So anyway, basically you go through and do any kind of introduction. One of the days here, it talks about when you tie your shoes and you make the loops, right? When you write some letters, you use loops. And it talks about the B, the E, the F, the H, the K, and the L. They're open, but don't put loops in the T or D. So any kind of tip of the week kind of thing, tip of the day, that kind of thing. Practice, it has you practice a W in cursive with them this day, and then point out the formation of the W and the V and how they're very similar. So I would do that, and it also gives you an idea that you could do. This is gross motor with them. Students will benefit from skywriting the focus letters occasionally. Skywriting also allows the teacher to give us to see at a glance if a student is unsure about the letter formation. So that is what we would do together. And then what they can do independently that I just leave in a stack for them is their work for the day. And you may, with most of my students, I did, you know, exactly, for example, on a page like this with some of my older students, I might have them do all the way across. With this particular student, if I did that and he was working on this independently, it would have been, you know, great here, and then it would have gone downhill as we went. So I agreed with him. He complained about it having so many things to you know, so much to write. So I basically, what I did is made an agreement that we would, like here, he wrote it 4 times. And here he wrote it 4 times. I didn't have him do all of it. But maybe I just kind of subscribe to the, if you do it less often and you put everything into it and practice it, you know, without just going crazy, that's better than doing more and making it messier as you go. So I had him just do that concentrated, you know, he did 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, and then that was it. And then this was his, this just checked off. There was nothing circled on this day. He did that on his own. On this day, you know, apparently he needed to redo that. So he did well on his own. And if your child is doing well on their own, let them go in a subject. Every subject, there's different subjects for different students that they can do independently. Another thing that I did, now this is going to be below third. I think it's going to be, well, it might be second, third, depending on which level you do. Whenever you do LA3, this will not be part of the phonics, but these belong, I believe, in LA2. Correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong, and if these are not in LA2. But I think if you're in LA2, you have 4, 5, and 6. So Explode the Code is phonics. In kindergarten, they have Get Ready, Get Set, Go for the Code. And those are fun little activities. Those are just reviewing all of the 26 letters of the alphabet. And then this series 1 through 6 builds on that. And Sonlight includes Explode the Code 1 through 3 in level 1 and 4 through 6, I believe, in level 2. And so these are just activities that they can do and simple things if they are at the level where they can read independently. Jan dropped the brush and paint blank on the rug, and you know, it's supposed to be spattered on the rug. So if they're at the point where they can do that and they can fill in those blanks, they're just doing a page of this a day. It's in the IG, it's scheduled. So I just mark the page that they're doing and have that in the stack, and they do it independently. This was always something we did independently. So if you purchase these, that's another thing that you can do independently. Along with language arts, let's see, I don't have any Wordly Wise here, but Wordly Wise is vocabulary. And so a lot of people ask, is this necessary? Should we do this? Yes, those are in, thank you. I thought so. Okay, making sure. Okay, so Wordly Wise vocabulary is basically extra vocabulary, and I used it for the purposes of time management like this, so that whenever I was working with another older student, I had more time. And some of my boys just loved words. I have one son that just absolutely loved Wordly Wise. So if you are doing Sonlight, you're getting a lot of awesome vocabulary. So some people opt not to do Wordly Wise. Wordly Wise words are in Sonlight books, so you're already covering those books. It's just another activity, you know, something else that they can do independently if you need it. If you don't, it's fine. Somewhere around 3rd grade and up, 3rd to 5th, I think is the range for this. Grammar Ace is another activity. Now, sometimes this is a student workbook. Sometimes on this assignment, they are going to be doing things that you might do together. So it will vary by the day, but I think most days you might do a couple of things with them and then let them go from there. You know, like maybe number 1, number 2. This day they're doing a noun scavenger hunt. So they're going around the house and they're finding, this is the first assignment of the grade 4. Yeah, is it scheduled? I think it's scheduled in grade 4. Yeah, so I'm thinking it's a little above 3rd. So, but it just depends on which level. Some people do level 4 at different times. So it just depends on the student. So anyway, but basically these are things that they could do independently. Language arts, and then, Grammar ACE. And after Grammar ACE, I did Keys to Good Language. Keys to Good Language is a grammar program, and it has basically an assignment each day. This is about recognizing verbs, for example, and then it has these little keys out beside it here, 21, 45, B, and C. And when you look in the center of the book, you see there's that little darker spot there, those little lines that are gray. Those pages with gray on the edges have these keys, and they're all numbered. So you just go through, and they can very quickly find, noun starts with 13, and then it has it all laid out where they can find this independently. At 3rd grade, you're not worried about those grammar things yet, but I'm just giving ideas for different ages. Spelling is something that the first part of our spelling, if you're doing spelling you see, we're doing that together. And I think it's probably ideal if you can do that 10-15 minutes together. It's supposed to be 10 minutes for the right side of the page, 5 minutes for the left side of the page, roughly. So you read the story to the student, you read it together slowly, you have the student point to each word as you read. For this level, every level is a little bit different. This is D. And you mark the chunks together. And then we got to the point during the year with this that after we did the left page together, they could go on, not on a dictation day, obviously, because I'm dictating it to them sentence by sentence. So that was very much involved me. But on the copy work days, there were early in the week, there's copy work days. So if it's a copy work day, they could do that very much on their own. And we've already marked it on this side. So literally they're looking over here, they're counting, they're making sure that they mark all their spots. So that is something that can definitely be done together. Is that level 5 keys? Yes. No, 6. I'm sorry. That was level 6 on Keys to Good Language. But there is, I believe 5 and 6 is scheduled in Sonlight. Okay, let's see. That is, I talked about Explode the Code. I talked about, for phonics, after Explode the Code, there's MCP. That's, it stands for Modern Curriculum Press. And Phonics C for grade 3. That I looked up grade 3 to see what was involved there, and that's right. It's MCP C, Phonics C. There's also a Phonics D book. So basically, these are phonics activities. It just builds right on where you left off with Explode the Code if you are interested in doing that. Readers, for readers, if they are still at the stage where they are not reading silently or independently, then you can choose books that they can read and enjoy, and that they can enjoy on their own. And maybe after they finish anything that you really would like for them to finish just for their time management of their day, then, I would have some books ready for them to have free reading time. So maybe even nonfiction books on a subject that they love, or fiction books with more pictures and easy print, maybe a series they're reading that they can read independently, picture books, anything. I love picture books. I'm, my age, and I still love picture books. So free reading time, I think, is an amazing thing that they can do and that they can enjoy, and that includes learning while you are otherwise learning elsewhere. Also, if they are reading independently, then they can certainly go ahead and read their book. And of course, you're going to cover their, you've gotten your instructor's guide and the IG instructor's guide. You have questions, and you can check their comprehension with those. Independent math, you can introduce and be sure that they have practice with any new skill. But for the review part of the lesson, if your curriculum has that, I think a spiral method like Horizons, I used Horizons, and that does have a spiral component to it. So you're always doing some review of skills that you already have a good grasp on. Those are the problems that I would leave for independent work. So we would do the problems together that are new to them and be sure that they have a good grasp of that. But for the review part of the lesson, they can go solo. Use this as a gauge. Give them a highlighter. If you're working with someone else nearby or maybe in another room reading, ask them to highlight the number for any that they would normally ask you about. If you're not with them, I wouldn't just let them go every day, day after day with math that's so skill based. They're going to bump into things that, I'm not really sure about this, but I would give them a highlighter and highlight the number. And, you can play with this and see how it works for you. You could evaluate it day by day, and just like at the end of the day, and if they're missing more than 3 or if they're highlighting more than 3 or 4, you're like, okay, wait a minute, this is not something we're going to have in our independent stack tomorrow. Or you might just have them come and check with you if they get to the 3rd or 4th problem that they're unsure about, and a quick checkup with you could get them back in business and back on track. But it might be time, to either take a break or move on to more independent work. So I certainly, with a skill-based subject like math and reading, you really have to go gauge where their development is, and if the review is okay for them to do. A review part of the lesson, if you look through the problems and say, okay, we're going to do these first, this first section in Horizons, for example, or first 2 sections maybe, and then any review work they could do independently. That's kind of how I did that. One big thing that we did lessons, piano, or guitar, 30 minutes per day. They did their independent practice. And so this was something their teacher gave them to do that they were working on, and that was great. It was a little loud when it was the piano. Before, we got a keyboard with a headphone, which was transformational in our house. We did have to close the door in the room where we were reading just so that we could focus, because we had, especially when we had little ones, learning a piece where they play again and again. But they would set a timer, and when the timer went off, that was 30 great minutes of us being able to read without, and I could tell if they stopped playing. That was kind of nice. Like, what are you doing? You're not playing. I can tell. You could also, a daily chore that you didn't need to be there for. That's an idea, or clean up their area. Something that's just routine in a part of the day could be included. Free time is certainly something that they earn. If they've put, some work into some independent work, then they can earn time to do, whatever it is they like to do, and have some free time. So I hope those are helpful ideas. This should probably be I should have probably done 2 separate lives for this, but I wanted to be able to answer both of these questions. So I normally would end right here because we're getting into a little bit longer, but